Everyone, Jules here and Dropping Jules, and today we talk about real estate, lending, and everything in between. And I'm so honored to have my guest Anton Hartman here with me today. Hello, Anton. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me this evening.
Such a pleasure. It is my honor actually to have you on here and to share with our audience and drop some jewels for them. So thank you so much, Anton. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be on, and always fun to with it get on with a fellow Owners Club member, and share some knowledge, have some good conversation.
That's right. That's right. I'm looking forward to it. So, Anton, to get started, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're located, and just a little bit about you before real estate. What were you involved in?
So thank you again. I appreciate you having me on.
Like,
Before I've been in heavily involved in real estate for about the last 2.5, 3 years
hmm
in creative real estate. But before that, I have a an IT and a finance IT and finance background. I still do some IT management work as well. So I bring a very an analytical and finance mind to real estate investing, uh, and that's why creative real estate's really been is a really big fit for me because it's looking at things through
numbers, and you're looking, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. So, IT, right? And then finance. So, you got some programming skills maybe, or you're like a network guy? Which one?
I have some programming skills, and I've played on the program management side, the
hmm
project management side, the
Oh, wow.
analyst. I have done a little bit
Everything.
of everything. I've carried that the 3 a the 3 a.m. the 3 a.m. calls came before real estate, which is
Yes.
another reason why I've chosen my we'll talk about the wrap strategies that I use a lot, and my background in IT gave me the idea that I didn't want another thing that was calling me at 3
At
o'clock in the morning.
3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. All right. So tell us how you got started in IT and finance world. I'm curious. Like, how did that mesh?
I like many story. I mean, I have a my educational background is I have a degree in economics, and I picked up an MBA along the way.
Oh, you just
But
picked it up. You just picked it up.
yeah, I
Okay.
picked it up. It
Okay.
was, I saw it by the side of the road, and it's like, oh, that looks
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
neat. Maybe
Let's
I'll
pick
pick
that
that
up.
up.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Um, I got out of college, and I was looking for an opportunity, and I started at a company. We At that time I sold. I was legally a produce broker, but I sold grapes
Oh.
between wine grape growers
hmm
and wineries,
Okay.
and you know, I was the young guy in the office,
hmm
and when something is broken, that's a
Right.
computer. Do you go talk to? All right, the young
Sure,
guy
sure,
in the
sure.
office.
I love
Then
that.
we didn't have any systems, so I started building systems there. Then I brought in a vendor to build more systems, and kind of one thing led to another, and I had fallen into IT, where I've been for 15
Wow.
plus years in a variety of roles at a number of firms from small to large.
hmm
um, but I've always known that I do like that, and I'm good at what I do there, but that that's not the forever, and you don't want to.
You saw the light and you wanted to get into real estate. So
Yeah.
what made you shift and get into real estate? So I know you mentioned that the 3 a.m. calls, so you wanted something different, but what got you excited about real estate?
Real estate is it's nice that it's a sort of thing where what you do and what you put into it,
hmm
defines your level of success. If the sky is the limit, if
hmm
you put the work in, you put the effort in, and you know what you're doing,
Sure.
that and I actually ended up I found about 2.5 years ago, I found Pace Morby and SubTo kind of as a little bit of a backdoor. I had heard the business acquisition and creative financing, so I started looking into
Hmm.
creative financing
Okay.
of assets in general. And in the course of looking at that, I found Pace, and I found the sub two concept
Okay.
of within real estate, and that was has a low barrier to entry and was approachable and interesting, and
Hmm.
I just dove into that from there, and within less than less than 60 days from diving into that, I'd already acquired my first creative property.
Wow, that's outstanding. So let me take my audience back a little bit. So if you're new and you're listening here, the SubTo community is part of Pace's community. It's the real estate part. Anything you want to add to what SubTo is, since you've got that creative mind and then also the finance behind it. What exactly is SubTo for someone new
So,
listening?
when someone buys a piece of property, most people get a mortgage on that property in order
Hmm.
to pay for that, since they don't have $500,000 in cash
Right.
sitting around. So maybe they bring, $50,000 or $100,000 and then get a mortgage on the property. When they want to go ahead and sell that property, if for whatever reason there's not a good opportunity to sell it in the marketplace traditionally, they can sell it to someone who will agree to just take the property from them and make some payment to them, but then agree to just continue making the mortgage payments on their behalf. So they're acquiring you agree to acquire the property subject to the fact that there is an additional mortgage in place.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks for explaining that for us. Okay. So you got into sub two, 60 days in, you got your first creative deal. Tell us a little bit more about that. How did you find a deal? How did you source it? How did you find the deal? What was your
So
exit strategy?
I actually bought that. I found the deal from a wholesaler. It was a property in the suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a local market, a lot of local market to me, but I had some knowledge of the area from being having spent some time traveling there for business in the
Mm-hmm.
past. So they had a deal. It was a deal that was in pre-foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
There was so it's VA loan, and the seller um, and her husband were behind on, but they were planning at that time to leave the country. So they
Okay.
just needed to get out from underneath it. So we paid about 25,000 in cash to them, took the mortgage sub two. I paid the person who brought the deal, and we closed on that property
Mm-hmm.
into, at that time, my portfolio, and then shortly thereafter ended up selling that on to a wrap buyer who is still in there almost
Oh,
2.5 years later. They're still there, paying me every month. And so I get a check from them every month, and obviously I pay the underlying note. I'm paying the, private money lender. So in this case, I have a private money lender who stayed there for the long term.
wow.
They're getting a check every month, and I'm obviously cash flowing
Wow.
on it every month
That's
as
great.
well.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that wrap in a little bit. I want to get to Owners Club, which we love. Tell us why you joined Owners Club.
It's for obviously meeting people like Julie.
Thank you.
The the real power in real estate is a network and the people that you connect with and partner with, learn from, and all of those things. And I know that I wanted to be in a high caliber room with high caliber people, and that's you know
That's
that's
one.
that's the reason. There's
Yeah.
obviously there's education, there's knowledge, and that's incredibly important, incredibly valuable.
Sure.
But no one has ever made money on their own. Every deal, every situation has people that you work with,
Yes.
and having a filtered room and a lot of other great people is invaluable.
That is
And
invaluable. Yeah, for sure. I love that you said that, you don't want to, nobody makes money alone. So that's one of the things that our mentor and partner Pace strives to tell us, like we want to do deals with the people within Owners Club and also within Sub 2. So thank you for sharing that. So within Sub 2, we Pace wanted us, not Sub 2, I'm sorry, within Owners Club, Pace wants everybody to have their Mount Everest, which is their 5-year goal. What is your Mount Everest, Anthony? Would you mind sharing with us?
so my Mount Everest is to take over that 5-year period
Hmm.
at least 500 um, homestead buyers, so people
Hmm.
that can't qualify for a traditional mortgage, and help them get into a forever property for themselves or a long-term property for themselves using either lease options or wraps. And I'm doing it sort of a combination of the deals that I'm doing directly, and then also helping others implement the strategy
I love that.
themselves
Hmm.
in their local market or in their local situation.
Okay. So if I had someone who's listening in, what would be, for someone listening in who doesn't qualify, they don't have credit, how would this benefit them? And can you give us a definition between the difference between lease option and a wrap?
So taking first, kind of how does that help someone who
Hmm.
so if you're a buyer that doesn't meet the very standard bank criteria, is very, very standard. It has
Hmm.
to have you have to have the right W-2, all the right things that they want. The ability to pay is almost secondary to do you have the right
The
paperwork, and
requirements, so your
do you
W-2,
check the
your
right
credit,
boxes
yes.
in the right way?
Hmm.
And there's, many people that are, through life circumstances or the type of business they're in. Like, I have a lot of customers that are in the construction industry,
Yes.
so they have very high levels of, legal deductions and depreciation for
Hmm.
that come from their business. So they have a, significant cash flow and significant income, but they don't get a W-2 because they're employed but for themselves,
Yes.
and their tax returns likely don't show a large amount of actual of final income
Hmm.
because of their depreciation.
Sure.
So someone like that, where I'm the bank in the circumstance, so I'm able to take the holistic look at their situation and
Hmm.
determine, does this make sense? And uh, have more ability to see the whole and embrace the whole picture than.
Mm.
uh,
Oh,
and
wow.
then you also asked kind of where I've talked about two different types of structures. One
Strategies.
is
Hmm.
kind of a wrap or seller finance, or versus a lease option. So a lease option is something where someone who is going to sign maybe it's a 3-year or a 5-year lease, and then make also an option fee payment. Maybe that's 5,000, 10,000, $15,000,
Hmm.
and in exchange for that, at the end of that lease period, they can purchase the property for under a predefined set of terms, so that they can know that whether that's they need time to rebuild their credit. Maybe they're coming from a divorce or from a
Hmm.
medical bill situation or
Sure.
something like that, where they can't qualify traditionally for, some period of time. And that gives them time to rebuild their credit, but
Credit.
while also
Hmm.
being in there forever or in a long-term and stable situation. Because that's one of the biggest challenges that people face is as a renter or a leaser, you could be 6 months or a year at any
Hmm.
point, the person sells the property or your lease ends, it goes up, all of those kind of uncertainties
Uncertain. Yes.
that you avoid by being in a long-term lease with the option to extend or to purchase. Then there's some that have the money to make a purchase now and just don't fit. So
Hmm.
that would be more of a true wrap or a mortgage. And in
Mortgage.
that case, I'm truly acting as the bank. So you
Sure.
would go through a traditional real estate closing,
Hmm.
and that property is going to pass to that buyer, and I'll hold a note or a land contract on
Okay.
it, and those are structured typically. For me, how I structure those is it's like if you went to purchase a vehicle. You
Yes.
go you go to the dealership and you get the car, you're responsible for the car,
Hmm.
etc. But only when you make the last payment do they
Hmm.
give you the full title to it. So I do exactly the same thing. Once you've made the last payment, you get the actual title to their property, which is the equivalent of a deed for
Mm. I love that.
yeah.
So, would you say that strategy, the wrap and lease option, versus why that strategy versus a long-term rental?
That really ties back into 3 o'clock in the morning
Yes.
because on a wrap or a lease option, the buyer is responsible. The option buyer or buyer is responsible for the maintenance of the property,
I love that.
and they're not calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning with a clogged toilet. And
Right,
as
right.
I
They're
say,
handling
no, no,
everything
no
else.
rap has ever called you at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that really drives that as a strategy choice for me.
Hmm.
And typically, there's also you can get a stronger rent. You're going to get a stronger rental price, and whether you're getting an option payment or a down payment, you're bringing cash in that is either fully covering or at least defraying your entry fee, and in
Sure.
some cases, you can put cash in your pocket on
Mm,
the entry side,
love
depending
it.
on the terms and depending on the deal.
Okay. And how long do you typically carry the note for?
So I will, for a lease option, somewhere between 2 and 5 years, typically depending on how much they want to put down as an option fee.
Option fee. Okay.
For a land contract or the seller financing ones, I do 30-year. I will do 30-year financing.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if someone's listening in our audience and they're interested in, being a homestead buyer, one, where your property is located, and two, how can they get a hold of you?
The best way is, and I will include my Instagram, but it's just my name, Anton C. Hartman, on all the
Yes.
platforms.
Yes.
And that's a great way to always get in touch with me. My primary markets are Colorado and the southeastern U.S., but you know, the through being an Owners Club member and in SubTo, with a wide and deep
Why?
network, so I
Yes.
can pretty much yeah, I can help guide you towards a property really anywhere in the country that you have that need.
Okay, perfect. So your best way to reach out to Anton is via his Instagram, Anton C. Hartman, on all social media platforms, and then also his markets if you're looking Colorado, Southeast, the U.S. So what, Georgia, Tennessee, pretty much the red belt states down there.
Yeah, the Carolinas.
Carolinas. Okay.
Yeah, uh,
Awesome. Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. Just want to pivot a little bit. For someone starting out and they're newbie within Sub 2, and they want to learn the wrap method or the lease option, is that a difficult strategy to learn? And what would you recommend to them?
It's not it's not the most basic
Hmm.
strategy. For someone who's truly new,
Hmm.
uh, it probably wouldn't diving straight into it like I did is probably not necessarily what I would recommend.
Recommend. Hmm.
Some of the reasons for that are, like I mentioned, it's 2 years, 5 years, 30 years. You're getting into deals for for the long haul.
Yes.
And um, unlike other strategies, I mean, I'm holding all of these. I'm ultimately the responsible party for the all of the underlying mortgages.
Mortgages, the
And
holding
there
cost,
are
paying the
times
folks out.
where
Hmm.
if someone is, paying slowly on the inbound side, the underlying mortgage still needs to be paid.
Yes.
So, I have to bridge that out of, I'm bridging that out of my
Hmm.
assets.
Hmm.
And because, I'm ultimately,
Responsible.
it's really the acquisition and the disposition are two disconnected
Hmm.
things. So, having that, you have to have reasonable, uh, wherewithal to make sure that you can be honoring all of the commitments
Sure.
that you're making, because in each creative transaction there are a lot of potential beneficiaries,
Hmm.
but it is, someone has left their mortgage in place, and they do face consequences if you don't if as the substitute buyer you don't take care of the
Hmm.
commitments that you've made.
Sure, sure. How do you make sure you don't over leverage yourself?
For me, it's about looking at, what are my overall assets, and then it's looking at, I try to keep it so that I only have, one to
Hmm.
three or one to five in flight at any given time, meaning
Okay.
that I'm holding them directly. Uh,
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So everyone should know what they're capable of handling per month, and then also what your threshold is as far as, having those holding costs, with the mortgage and everything else that you have to pay.
right.
Yeah.
How much your exposure is tied into, how much could you reasonably afford to float
Hmm.
if everyone
Go
stopped
south.
paying,
Yes. Yeah.
or
Like COVID happens again or something like that, or government
yeah,
shutdown. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, all right, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. As far as what you need, you mentioned deal flow. What exactly are you looking for?
So on the acquisition side, almost every property I have is something that has been acquired creatively, whether that is sub two, like we talked about earlier, or something that is, I have some properties that have been purchased on seller finance,
Mm-hmm.
where the original seller is the bank, or a hybrid. So I'm always looking um, for deals, creative deals that someone is looking to find a long-term buyer for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's important that there's kind of three key levers to a creative deal. It's how much is the entry fee,
Hmm.
what are the terms, and do you have any do you have any equity? Meaning, is there value there above what you need to pay to get into it. I try to be 5% or less on the interest
Interest
rate.
rate. Okay.
I try to keep the entry fee to 8 to 10% or less,
Of
you
the
know,
purchase price.
of the purchase price.
Okay.
Um, and it doesn't necessarily need to have equity,
Okay.
but especially in today's market, it's important that the value that you're using to calculate whether you have any equity
Yes.
is realistic to today's. to today's market.
Market, sure. So what roughly so if so you said no equity, but if you're looking for equity, what percentage? 10, 20, 30, 40,
Um, Really, as long as you have more than, 10 to
10, more than 10.
15%,
Okay.
usually by the time you're getting, if you have a property that has a lot of equity,
Hmm.
typically you start to have problems with it as a creative deal because someone has a lot of equity that they need, that they want bought out.
Hmm.
If some of that equity can be purchased using, seller finance, so like a hybrid. So for example, I have another property in Colorado. This is just outside of Denver. It's
Hmm.
about a $400,000 property. It only had about 175,000 left on the mortgage,
Okay.
but I'm getting most of the rest of that balance is about $225,000 seller finance note. So they're giving me long-term financing
Hmm.
on that. So as long as you're able to buy that equity,
Sure.
with something other than cash, then that can
Okay.
definitely work.
So with that one, it's what was the equity? 275 or so?
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
275,000 in
So the
equity.
seller carry that back on seller financing and then
Yeah,
you
and we actually got that was I partnered with someone else in SubTo actually had leveraged a relationship of someone they knew brought that. So we actually got um 30 years 0% financing
oh my gosh. Wow.
on the equity portion
Wow.
of that. I mean the pain point on this property was it was not in livable but
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
turnkey condition.
Condition.
So
Okay.
if they were going to go, so the overall price that we paid was strong, relatively strong, and that helped secure, that financing. Um,
Mhm.
so what ended up happening with that property is um, I sold that on a long-term land contract
Mhm.
to someone who's in the, construction industry. So for him, it was a good fit
Sure.
because he has
He
himself
has money,
and
right? Yeah.
also himself, but also, he's able to, do a lot of the work
Of the
to
rehab
enhance
or
that
whatever.
property
Hmm.
himself. So it's a really nice win-win,
Hmm.
there for him. And, he has a construction business that is uh, doesn't it was not a good fit for
For
it was not a
traditional
good fit for
financing.
traditional financing. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. So I love that you're solving a problem creatively as well as helping other people creatively. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
in every deal that I touch, I look at it that there are four parties that really get an op that there can be as many as four different families that are
Wow.
winning from it. So I on the acquisition side, someone who had a painful situation, they're
Hmm.
selling creatively, and
Hmm.
that's a problem solved. In many cases, I have a private money lender that's also making money
Hmm.
on the deal. I may have a wholesaler or a bird dog who's
Hmm.
also made
Wow.
money on the
Yeah.
transaction, and then there's a homestead buyer that was unable to purchase or found that this
Wow.
was their best purchasing path. So
Yeah.
four different families, in
Wow.
addition, obviously, to myself and my team
Yeah.
as so there's a lot of
I love that.
win-win-win that can come out
Yeah.
of these types of transactions,
And you
which
do
is
share.
the thing I really love about it.
I love that you're sharing that. And you do share that, right, with Pace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Much.
I'm gonna have to go text send him another
Of course.
text.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. Yes, yes. No, that's really awesome though, because those are success stories that we want to hear about that, people need to know about because you are solving a real crisis problem. We understand the affordable housing crisis is real, but for homestead buyers right now with the market the way it is, they're not qualifying for some of these loans, especially if you're self-employed and you're not showing your true income, because you have all those write-offs It's
Yeah.
really hard for you to qualify for traditional loans. So this is a way for them, for a homestead buyer
Yeah,
to
because
qualify.
housing affordability is a real issue, and I love the people, I love the rent by room models and those types of strategies, but that's not a good fit for
Not for
that's not a
everybody.
good fit for everyone. If you're a family,
Yeah,
a room rental is not a great pad split, or a room rental is not a great solution
right.
to your housing needs.
For sure.
And that doesn't diminish the value and importance of all across the spectrum of affordable housing, but uh, we need strategies that meet all the different seasons of life that people are in.
People are in, absolutely, as they transition from room to single family home, one, and then also eventually buying their own home, which is the American dream. So I love that you're helping people achieve their dream. Thank you, Anton.
Yeah, no, it's very rewarding. I mean, it's not a there's no easy button
Yeah.
in real estate. If you're getting into it, there's real work to be done, but there's a lot of rewards that come to it, both obviously
Mhm.
from a financial perspective and an investment perspective, but
Mhm.
also in the impact that done well and done ethically, you can really make a big impact, positive impact in people's lives.
Yeah, and trust me, you are. So thank you for doing that. As we come to a close, I want to ask this question. So for someone starting out new and sub two, newbie, what would be the number one skill you would tell them to acquire within the first 90 days?
Getting out there and talking to people that have property
Hmm.
available, whether that's a wholesaler or someone who already has properties that
Hmm.
they have acquired, or it's talking to agents, or it's talking to um, potential sellers of property. There's no substitute for just getting out and talking to people. And um, you don't have to get you don't have to have all the expertise. You
Hmm.
can be uh, you can introduce concepts and understand what people's pain and needs are,
Sure.
and connect them to the appropriate person, whether that's a buyer,
Hmm.
whether that's a wholesaler, whether that anyone that can help solve that need. And you can be just the beginning part of that bridge, whether that's bird dogging,
Hmm.
um, or wholesaling yourself. I think that's a very big entry in.
Entry. Yes, yes, I do agree. I love that. Just getting out there. And one thing our partner and mentor Pace tells us is take action, whether it's imperfect action. So just getting out there, right? We don't have all the answers to everything, but we
We
have.
don't have all the answers, and there's you do have to be, I think, honest and humble and transparent about that. I don't know everything, but the reality is that at 3 weeks in or 3 months in, you don't know everything. But
Mhm.
at 3 years or 3 decades in, you don't know everything either. Julie's still learning. I'm still learning.
Mhm.
All of us are still learning every day, and having that humility, bringing that humility is really critical to what you're doing through day one through day 1,000 through day 10,000 in
Yeah.
the real estate career and journey.
Sure, sure. So thank you for sharing that. I love that you said that within the first 90 days to piggyback and to go out there and put yourself out there and be honest, right? So where you're at is only going to help you grow. Before we wrap up, any last minute advice you would like to give our audience?
I think it's the real estate's a great journey. I've said it a couple of times that there's there's no easy button. And in a sense, that's true.
Hmm.
But there is an simple formula of do the work,
Hmm.
network with people. There's this isn't hard or complex. So in that sense, it's easy.
Right.
You just need to do the work and
Mhm.
put in the effort, and it will work.
Yeah.
If you put the effort into the excuses for why you can't or why you can't, or I can't make
Mhm.
calls, or I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Well, if people put as much work into the doing as into the explaining why they can't do,
Yes.
they would be
Incredible.
unimaginably successful.
Yeah. Well put. Well put. Well, thanks for sharing that, Anton, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank
Uh,
you very much for taking the time to invite me on this evening and have the conversation. And I'd
I
love
love it.
to have folks reach out to me. I'm happy to help people that are starting out in their journey. Reach out to me on Instagram or through any of the socials, Anton C. Hartman, and I'm happy to help and happy to point people in the right direction, whether it's with me or with a different one of our fellow Owners Club members.
I love that. Well, guys, there you had it, have it. Anton dropping some jewels for us on how to wrap, how to do lease options, and why he finds this strategy helpful. He's been helping a lot of homestead buyers, so reach out if you're interested in purchasing a property and you don't qualify traditionally for a loan. He will walk you through and point you in the right direction. Again, you can reach him at Anton C. Hartman on IG or any socials. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Anton.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you on the next one. Have a
Yeah,
great day, everybody.
have a great evening.
Thanks.